it is 4:30, so we'll go ahead and get the work session up and going. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate you coming. This is actually our final scheduled meeting for December. Hopefully we won't require a call meeting or anything between now and the end of the year, but this will be our final 2023 meeting that's on the books. So I'll start off by just saying what a great year. You guys have all done an amazing job, and we appreciate you tremendously for everything. So we will go through our agenda, and then when we get to general discussion, anybody wants to go into any of the portions that we've got to discuss, then we'll do that. I know first on our agenda is for planning and development updates. We only have one rezone coming up on tonight's meeting, but we'll get an update on that.
Okay. This one tonight is Jeremy Gilligan, located off of Black Rock Lane, parcel number 017001002. Applicant is requesting to rezone 5.89 acres of a 28.6 acre tract from agriculture to rural residential. The applicant's intent is to sell the acreage as one parcel, but wants the ability to sell up to 3 lots if necessary. As you can see, there it is. And the portion that he wants to sell is down there close to that highway business. I think that highway's business is actually a church. So there it is if it's just for 1 lot split. And that's it for 3. And staff recommendation was approval of a request to rezone the 5.89 acres from agriculture to rural residential. Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve.
Y'all have any questions or anything on the, I know I've watched the meeting, so I'm not sure if y'all had a chance to review that one.
No, I did.
I'm good. Okay. Well, Bethany, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We will move on from that into recreation. I know I've got it specifically on one topic that we'll talk about, but I know there's a lot going on with activities, so we'll, if you want to start with just giving your update, then we'll talk about the fees, and then I'll talk about some of the bigger projects that we're looking at too.
So updates to the recreation. We are full bore into basketball. We started games last Saturday. Played games pretty much all day long. Instructional league, 7-8s, 9-10s. Very, very busy. Also, our pilot program with the girls 11-12 3v3 league has done really well. We're working in conjunction with the high school, and we're actually doing that through the high school at their gym. That's going really well as well. Getting ready for baseball, and that's kind of where we started talking about the recreation fees and things of that nature. And we want to get that before the Board of Commissioners before we started getting ready for all our flyers and everything for baseball sign-ups that will be occurring at the first of the year. So we kind of go in detail about the fees.
Yeah, and I believe y'all should have it in your folders too. So if you want to go through and just kind of
I actually cannot find any documentation on when these fees were set, why they were set at this rate. It was just kind of, I mean, you can look at Gilmer and Dawson and Lumpkin and White. It is kind of like the North Georgia area was all around that $80 to $90 amount for playing athletics. And the reason why we wanted to do it is to get away from the $5 increments. It's absolutely murder on our change. I'm having to go to the bank all the time just to get change. People bring a $100 bill, and then we've got, so it's kind of crazy. So what we'd like to request is to raise baseball $5, which would go from 85 to 90, basketball from 75 to 80, and softball from 85 to 90, and keep football at the current fee of $100. And Commissioner Tatum asked me about our football fee. It's one of the lowest in the entire Mountain Football League, and the reason why is because we don't provide pants. If you look at like Dawson County provides pants, jerseys, all sorts of other stuff, and that's why their fees are so high. We got out of the pants business about 3 years ago and dropped our fee so that it would be a lot more conducive for the parents to go and get Riddell's or Nike's or Adidas or whatever they want as far as pants goes. It's very specific with football. So.
Question on scholarship.
Yeah.
For students that are kids with needs. Do we have that already kind of in place now? Did that carry forward or?
It's not set up formally. The way we do that, we have some outside citizens who, will basically bring us a check and they'll say, hey, can you put this towards registration? And we'll kind of, if somebody comes in and says, hey, my kid wants to play, we don't have the fees, and then we'll attribute those fees to that and just basically let them play. We also do payment plans. We're definitely not in it for the money. So if mom comes in and says, hey, I can't give you the entire $80 now, we'll bust it up into payments pretty much the entire month of, like for basketball, the entire month of November, even going into December, as long as they, get with us before the end of the season, we usually let them play. In some agencies, because we actually were talking about this the other day at a department or a director's meeting, they made their recreation advisory board a 501c3. And all that type of stuff runs to the recreation advisory board and not through Parks and Rec. So then that would go to them. If somebody had a hardship, the RAC would then rule on whether to give that kid scholarship for whatever sports. And it kind of keeps us out of, those type of monies floating around. It's the recreation advisory board would have the authority over it. And we would just take the applications to them. So something to think about.
Speaking of your advisory board, have they seen this and floated it? I know you've got a lot of parents on that board.
They have. They've seen it. The $5 is not that big of a hit. Some people wish it was free. I wish we could comp, sports for free for everybody. It's like I said, it's one of those administrative things. We thought that if we could get it to a round number, it wouldn't be that hard on us as far as trying to bust cash and everything during the season.
And most of that's for uniforms equipment.
The vast majority of it is for uniforms. That and paying officials.
Okay.
Yeah, like for baseball, usually my baseball, to get baseball uniforms is about $12,000 on the low end sometimes. It is expensive and it just keeps going up too.
So if you compare that $12,000 for uniforms, how much do you bring in from fees in a year?
I'd have to get the numbers, but you got to remember we got maintenance of the fields.
Right. No,
and then we got umpires we got to pay throughout the season. I think Chris did the math when we had the town hall. We're just barely we're in the red when it comes to what we're bringing in as far as what we're producing, as far as revenue numbers go.
I don't remember the raw number on that, but when we did calculate it out, it's just trying to cover the basic expenses of what is provided for the kids that are participating. I do like the idea of somehow more formally organizing the scholarship fund for those, because Parks and Rec, in my opinion, has got to be available to all kids. And if there are families that $80, $90 could be that limiting factor. So I think if we start putting our heads together and possibly try to review how we set that up in a more formal process and where that funding source could come from, I would like to. If we're going to increase fees, I want to make sure we increase opportunities to make sure we don't eliminate any kids from participating. We'll have this on the agenda for the January meeting when we have it on the voting agenda at that point in time. So that gives us the next few weeks just to try to come up with a way to more formally structure. We may not have the funding completely in line, but maybe the application for how that it comes in, and then work with finance on any private donations, how we make sure that can offset. So I think there's a way to do it for sure, for me.
Yeah, that's my concern, honestly. If we can get some kind of a scholarship like you're talking about.
Okay. Right, thank you. I'll jump in on, and this is one portion, we do have one item that's going to be on the agenda later tonight on an architect engineer. We had the town hall meeting on Parks and Rec. We then had the joint meeting with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, trying to identify top priorities of what we can do to update and improve. We went through, and that list was pretty comprehensive, but it included replacement of a maintenance shop, which was kind of an infrastructure thing that people couldn't see. The in so doing, then creating a new concession bathroom where the maintenance shop is currently shared with that facility. Other priorities that were looked at during that was the pool was a big one. Pickleball courts was another big one. Inside conversations, the pavilion area for people to gather was brought up, and then additional bathroom needs in the park, as well as rehabbing fields 2 and 3 to get those really up to speed. We've been working with the construction manager trying to kind of identify preliminary pricing, I guess would be a better way of describing that. We've not went out to bid and we've not got formal quotes, but we have been reaching out to people, getting ballpark idea pricing together. One thing I'd like to do tonight, and this will be in the regular meeting, as an amendment on the agenda, is to go ahead and engage that firm that can start drafting up the architectural plans for this.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that drafting of that, we can then try to phase those in as to what the cost is. And so that we know what we go out to bid and what time we'll go out to bid, or potentially going out to bid for all of it in the early stages of 2024. So one of the things that we've got going, but this way we can really start getting the ball rolling and move from concept and conversation and talking and postponing and pushing back to, okay, let's figure out how soon can we get a bulldozer out there sitting and pushing dirt and getting that concept drawn out to where the public can see it, and get that together. So the first step of that is what's on the agenda for tonight, but I do think that, I mean, this is something we started back in, is that October when we had the town hall? And it was months prior to that, but the town hall in October where we started to really streamline the big wish list and narrow it down to what the realistic wish list is. And believe that we've got a strong potential to do a significant number, if not all of those projects in the next year to 2 years tops. But we've got to get the actual numbers to go along with it. And we'll discuss it when we get into the meeting, but the firm that I'm going to present and propose has expressed a willingness to work on a percentage scale for the total cost of the project versus an individual payment. So there's not an upfront payment. It's based on the total cost of the project would be a percentage for the fee structure on the architect and the drawings and the engineering that would be required in the back end. With a construction manager on staff for the office that's a general contractor, we'll be able to handle the general contracting side of the construction on our end without having to hire that extra contractor, and should be able to bring those costs way down. If that's possible. But I wanted to throw that out in the discussion when we're talking about Parks and Rec, in case you guys had specific questions on that. And I know this has been a topic we've talked about in public meetings repeatedly for the last 2 years. So, and then we can go back into the editorials of the progress, and it's been a conversation for a decade. So we're just trying to find a way to make better use of that piece of property for the potential of expansion in the future to additional property. So, thoughts, ideas, questions?
Pickleball and pool.
Yeah. Those were the two biggies from pretty unanimous. I mean, internally we all talked about maintenance shops and bathrooms, but pickleball and pool was the biggies that came from the public, and that's what we've been trying to work on, gathering some raw number pricing, and it looks like it is very possible that we can move forward. We will still have the current pool open for one more season, so that's why they have to work.
Don't tease me like that.
Make sure to say that.
Say that.
Before Brian's over there texting all the staff, go ahead and start filling the pool in or something. We will still have one more season with that pool, because if we started construction today, it won't be completed in time to open it up. I mean, that we will have one more go at it. So that's
Pool's a nightmare.
it was a good hope for. I'll let you dream for a minute, but I got to pull it back up. So. All right. Any other Parks and Rec questions, comments? Y'all made it almost a week into games, and I haven't got the first phone call. So
Yeah, just wait.
First season. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I mean, it would not.
Everybody's happy on the first games, and then it just kind of goes downhill once we get to tournament time.
Oh gosh. Moving into other expensive projects, we'll move into talking about the paving projects and having that conversation about that. I know Kurt has provided each of you with kind of a list of some different pricing ideas. I think it was emailed earlier, and he was presenting that to you guys. I think in order to talk about 2024 paving projects, it's important to talk about 2023 paving projects, because we took on two of our longest roads in the same year. We took on both Jerusalem and Cove Road, and not only did we completely resurface Cove with a leveling coat, but we also patched and paved Jerusalem, which was what we split up over 2 years on the Cove side of things. Those two combined projects were very costly. Now, we had let our SPOS balance build up so that we were able to pay for those, so we were able to pay a lot more out in paving in 23 than what we had paid out in 22. And so I say that to say, we don't want to set unrealistic expectations, because you have to allow that SPOS money to build back up so that when the paving contracts come in, and you can pay when the paving's actually done. And as frustrating as it was that paving got pushed back into the winter, and instead of in the summer, it probably helped us with being able to keep that funding balance up to where we were in good shape. So we had originally, preemptively, and you don't know till you get what roads you want them to look at and give you speculative pricing, we had a very optimistic list of a significant amount of paving projects we were trying to find out pricing for 2024. And when they came in, I believe we realized about 50% of those are possible. And about 50% would not be possible to stay within that roughly $1.8 million price range on paving projects. I have the copy of it sitting right in front of me. I've moved it to the side. One of us has got it. You got it on the screen. There you go. As far as the bigger project roads that we've discussed for 2024, Jones Mountain Road, which is almost completely falling apart, was one of the ones on the top of that list. Whitestone Road, which is not very far behind Jones Mountain Road in terms of the how the road's holding up. It is definitely going downhill pretty quick. It's not as heavily traveled as Jones is, and then on the west end of the county, Tatum and Mullinex, and Town Creek. Well, I guess Fairview's technically on the west end, right off of 515, was also on there as well. This is the earlier list than the one you've got. Yeah, I'm reading off of an earlier list. I was sitting here thinking, wait, it was there.
That's what I've got too, but yeah, we may tweak some of those, but
Yeah.
Jones Mountain and Whitestone are our major ones. And we're also gonna let a patching project, to get some of them through till we can get them resurfaced. And I've got 9 different roads on it. Some of them will eventually resurface, some of them, will be putting off, but, that's gonna be about the extent of our paving projects next year, just get that patching done and mainly resurface Jones Mountain and Whitestone Road, because they are really in pretty bad shape. But we may tweak the list a little bit. Hopefully we'll get these out, advertised next week, so we can get our bids set up for, 1st of January, 2nd, 3rd week of January, somewhere around in there. Try to get our pricing in that way we can get started hopefully sooner on our paving next year. Our paving for the year, our summer paving job is now done, now that it's December. The only thing that's left out on that, we do have a crew that's gonna come in and do thermo, which is the nice stripes like what you see on state roads. We're gonna go back to some that we paved, the last couple of years and do those stripes on that. That's gonna include Hill City, Jerusalem, which we did this year, Cove Road, Worley, which we did this year. We're also gonna do Monument and Sunrise because it stays so foggy on the mountain and we can't really put reflectors. We can put reflectors up there, but we plow that so much in the wintertime, they don't really last very well. So the real reflective paint works better on that. So that's one thing that's left on this year's contracts that's yet to be done, but they will come out and do that. The paving, you have to let it set. The new pavement has set at least a couple weeks, and it's better if it rains on it a couple of times before they put the thermal down. That gives it a good bond. So crews should be coming in and doing that here in the next few weeks. And as far as my crews, they're starting back on Damascus. We're picking it back up where we left off during the tornadoes of July. We're going to start getting started back on that and get as much as we can get as much as we can done, getting it ready to do the chip seal on next spring. And, also other crews will be doing the mailboxes and driveway. Wherever they've been doing the new pavement, we've been going behind them with millings. Cause a lot of times it builds up at the mailboxes and driveways and, we're filling it back in with millings, kind of blending everything back in. So if y'all get any calls on that, we're on that too. And that's all that's going on in my world.
I'll tell you this story. I told you before, you make us look good. I got a phone call last week from somebody that lives out in the West End, and I got out there and he was complaining about the road. There was a divot in the road or something, and that was why I was there. They were fixing to get on the way, I was on my way here. I moved into another lane to make sure to not run over them. So he was tickled to death. It was being fixed before
you even made it.
Yeah.
So we get a win and that's great. I had that on a scrape project last year when the guy called and complained and the equipment was on the road next to him. So by the time I hung up the phone, they were already driving down the road and he thought I really worked that fast.
Sometimes it works out.
Worked out. Now, and one of the other reasons to bring this up in the December of '23 meeting is we've got to get our LMIG application to the state, which is the grant that they'll give us. There's $600,000 roughly that we received based on our road mileage that we have in Pickens. And we can get that application anytime between now and February, but we can get that application turned in so that those funds come in that will fund that portion of that paving project for 2024. So we're trying to get this locked in to where we can then get that application submitted to the state and let the DOT receive that. We should be prepared in the next week and a half to get that submitted. We don't want to submit it too early because we need those funds to come in 24, or we don't want to receive the check before January. So you wait until toward the end of the year so it comes in during the same calendar year of where it goes. But we're almost there. Any more paving questions or concerns? Or I know we all could give you 10 more roads we want to add, but that's just the budget's only got so much in it. Yeah, his list was probably more than what we would have came up with when you originally looked at it.
They did a good job on cuts, so very happy
That's
with
right.
Yeah, I have to brag on the contractors we've had this year that did it. The traffic control during the paving, I've received compliments on the limited amount of time people had to wait whenever it was stopped. I mean, sometimes that can be the number one call you receive, and they did an outstanding job with that. And the quality of the work when they finish is good. We had one humorous mud flap that got paved over that when they pulled the mud flap off left it dip, so they're coming back to fix that one spot. So, but we didn't paint a line around a dead squirrel like I've seen pictures in Facebook before. So we're a step beyond that. We just paved over a mud flap, which could have been a nice, like somebody left their stamp of approval on it or something. So Napa could have sponsored that road actually because it was their Napa mud flap. We'll move on into other department head updates. I know Emily had provided me something to make sure we got announced on December the 12th through the 21st. The Happy Holidays during that time for music, treats, bags, free adoption event. The adoption event's going to be on Tuesday through Friday. I guess it's the whole week.
Yeah, it'll be the whole week.
Okay, so the whole week they'll have a free adoption going, or a little more than a week, from the 12th to the 21st during their hours, Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 1. So they're going to have a free adoption season coming up in December. Some great pets up there. So I know they would love to see some cats find some homes during this adoption event. Dogs, I think, find them more frequently, but they've got plenty of cats for people to come and go through as well.
Thank you.
We do have that coming up. Other departments that have updates. I think Kenny was telling me that we've got a lot of the other counties that are not starting to bring their recycling in early.
Yeah, I met with Lumpkin, I mentioned last commission, basically I was at Lumpkin with them. They're working on trying to set up a recycle center and use us till they get theirs under control, they can do their own. So it'll be an extra. And then Dawson's really been kicking in, they've been bringing a lot of stuff to us.
I know Dawson was very excited. I met with a couple of their commissioners recently and they were excited to be able to start bringing it over.
And then our last machine, hopefully, get the electrician in after Christmas, and we'll get that set up and going. And then to brag on the county, when we first started in 2020, our first year of production, we done 1,000 bales off the motor. Last year we done 1,000 bales. This year we're already at 1,450 bales this year. So that's at 1,200 pounds of bale, you're looking at 1.5 million pounds that's not going to landfill.
Yeah.
So that's helping a lot in the budget from disposal fees and things like that.
Very good.
It's just cold over there, so. Every time I bring somebody in for an interview, they're like, it's cold over here. I'm like, well, it's good job. Shit, and they don't come back.
Start installing the Chick-fil-A heaters for their drive-through employees. Well, I shouldn't have said that. You'll actually put it in the.
Yeah, I will.
I probably should have never opened my mouth.
I'm hoping Friday is
Little
getting
warm spots for employees to be standing at.
Well, we did build them a small hut. So they got a little place to stand, they can watch them. So it's real bad in the back one.
Any other departments have any updates you wanna pop in? Everybody's trying to lay low and finish the year out strong and get into the holiday season. I know everybody, we had earlier today, got to have a great Christmas get together for all staff. We closed the offices for lunch and had a lunch together. Jasper United Methodist Church was awesome to let us use their facility, and Karen and Lisa and Grayson and Kathy all worked their tails off to make sure we were fed, and did an outstanding job with putting that together. So it was fun to get together. I don't know the total number of who all came. Did y'all get a head count?
250 to 300.
Between 250 and 300. So we had the vast majority of all county employees got together all at one time, which was good, and enjoyed a great time. I was threatened because I did actually wear an ugly Christmas sweater during that as to why was I not wearing it during the board meeting. It's an hour and a half of a year is all anybody's ever going to give me to put one of those on. It was a short-lived moment. General discussion, any other items that you guys have got as we're wrapping the evening? Well, we'll start looking at, we've got the board meeting calendar that we've got lined up for next year. I think we need to start looking at dates for our planning retreat that we've talked about, trying to get on the schedule for the first part of the year, possibly getting someone from Carl Benson to come up to help kind of facilitate navigating some of the capital improvement planning and all that, so that we can really structure that a little bit more. So hopefully get Lisa to reach out to each of you with some dates in the near future as to how we can get that scheduled and put together. That is all I actually have for the work session. If y'all have nothing more, then we'll adjourn the work session. I know it's 5 o'clock. We have our regular meeting coming up at 5:30, so invite everybody to stick around. We'll get the next one up and going.